Thank you for a kind introduction, Mr. Cotter, and good evening to all the ladies and gentlemen who've been assembled today. I take this opportunity to thank all the organizers of the area group for organizing such a wonderful event and having such warm interactions in a challenging market of today. It's only through interactions which we get to know what's happening. We exchange ideas, we exchange our minds, we exchange our experiences, and I believe we go home a bit more fuller, a bit more happier, and a bit more content, knowing we're on the right track, we have people supporting us, and we're part of a community which is growing. So I welcome all the panelists today.
Thank you.
And our topic is synergies or equations between the real estate consultant and all the other entities or stockholders of the real estate industry, mainly the real estate developer and architects, interior designers. So this is our topic, and we will have a few pertinent questions which we can cover, and I would request the contribution of all our panelists to throw more light on these questions. The first question would be, in the scenario of the realtor being in the past, the present and the future, the role of a realtor has changed over time between the past, present and future. How would you say was the role of a realtor before, today, and what do you think it will be tomorrow? If someone can share some light. Ashish, since you're for the mic.
I think the realtor, there was a vast difference. They used to just pass on the information what they used to get from developer, and they pass it on to the customer. In between transition period, they started learning certain things, and then they groomed themselves, and then they again the same scenario started again, and they still started passing on the information. But nowadays, there are a lot of things which they got involved as in social media. They study, they go for education seminars, they attend the conferences like people have done today. So in this kind of scenario, the real estate consultant, they have got a lot of first-hand information from different developers, from market, from educational purpose, from different entities, and now they educate their customer that which product is good, what is technically good for them, which is the better location. So there is a difference what I feel between the consultant.
Anybody else would like to share?
I would like to add that, as Ashish said, that brokers first was purely a referral business. Yeah, I know you, I know the builder, I make the introduction. Now the business is professionalizing, it's changing a lot. As he said, you can leverage technology to get leads. There is a lot of referral business as well. But as some of the panelists before said, it's becoming a service-oriented business. You need to know your information, you need to know your product, you need to know what you're selling, you need to know the builder, you need to have all the details, and not only just go for the agreement registration, but post-sale service. It's a full life cycle. So a lot of members of the area group are doing that really well and excelling at it. And I would say we have seen the business change because of you guys. So.
Well said.
I feel historically broker's job used to be predominantly to make two individuals meet, a buyer and a seller, and take up the transaction. Now going forward, I think it is a process-oriented industry where it's not only of making two people meet, having a product knowledge, process knowledge, how the entire transaction is going to result eventually in the next 1 year or 2 year or 3 year. That accountability factor has come in now because everyone here, whoever has been in the brokerage realtor industry over the last 10, 15, 20 years, is only because of their reputation and recognition as fair business practice, where they have to stand up and say to the developer that yes, this is wrong on your part, I'm not going to take this up from my client, and I don't think it's right. And vice versa for the client, who today's time what happens, in times, at times client also really pushes the envelope and really tries to get into a wrong pitch with the developer, does not acknowledge the fault or does not want to pay up for the delays in payments or try and remove small issues in the apartments post handover, where a broker has to get up and only believe and say, talk about the fair business practice or what is right and wrong for the either parties. So I think that's going to be very important, which was not there previously.
Well articulated. But I'll go to the next question. How important, it's a very simple question, but maybe the answer is not that simple. How important is the role of a real estate consultant in this entire process?
Yeah, so I'll just take that one. So basically, obviously the realtor plays a massive role because real estate buying is more of, it's a once in a lifetime thing, right? So inspiring confidence in the buyer. As a developer, I can market my product, I can say I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but at the end of the day, that's not going to inspire confidence. The confidence only comes from Vinod by saying, boss, this guy is good, I've seen him 20 years, he's going to deliver the product, plus minus, but you'll get your house. So that confidence, when intermediary brings into the picture, that really helps the whole process of a customer eventually putting his money in buying a house. So the role of a realtor broker is extremely important, and which is why you see from when the business started, and it will go on forever. You'll always have the need, and even in fact more and more the need of a broker, a realtor, to sort of, again, like the theme goes, scale up. So now it's a different generation, you've got to scale up, you need to build synergies and all of that. But we'll come to that later. A broker is always going to play a big role. So it's always going to improvise on how a broker adds value and all of that, in terms of how you use technology to lure more guys in, to bring them for site visits and all of that. But at the end of the day, the heart of real estate buying is the confidence that a broker brings on the table, the confidence he gives the buyer that when he puts in his good word is when the real transaction happens.
So he plays the pivot in converting the game from an inquiry to a sale. Okay. But
basically, I feel as a broker and a realtor, what is very imperative of having all the 5 P's in place. I think the product knowledge, knowing the progress of the project that they're offering, to know the permissions, which is very, very important, and to have a right packaging as well as the performance of the developer. Today, a realtor instills the gap between the cup and the lip. Basically, there are few things which a client can only discuss with the realtor. There are few things that a developer can only put down to a broker or a realtor to explain the client. So I think the bridging of gap which happens, जो हमारी भाषा में बोलते हैं शर्मा शर्मी, जिसमें काम नहीं हो सकता. They put down the thing, and I think they sanitize the whole flow of the transaction. And that's the reason today, if we see as statistics, all us developers, more than 60% of sales account via channel partners and brokers. So I think they play a very integral role.
So that's an important fact we all heard. 60% of the sales of a particular builder comes through channel partner sales. And I'm sure this would be true and applicable to most of the developers pan MMR or pan India. And that itself is proof by virtue of the percentage being more than 50% that it's a very important channel or a very important role. In today's market, how do you feel a realtor can enhance the sales of a builder or benefit the current challenging scenario for a builder? How can he help or she help?
So in today's market where we are lacking liquidity, I feel the confidence which the real estate agent gets through the developer is massive. So most of the people, most of the clients who are looking for most of the clients who are looking for an apartment which is in an under construction building, the biggest fear or the biggest question they have is whether the project is going to be completed. And the confidence which the real estate agent gets in, that's the most important at that front. And apart from only the deal, I feel channel partners play a very important role in getting the paperwork done, in getting the negotiation done. Because the second biggest fear the client has, am I paying more for the apartment? So when he's in hands of a good real estate agent, he's sure that he's not paying more or overpaying for the apartment. So that is again very important.
Ashish?
The channel partner role is quite important nowadays because the customer always wants, as Parth said mentioned earlier, कि वो शर्मा काफ़ी बार ऐसा होता है कि there are customers who are closely associated with the developer. Certain points which a realtor can convert them, the customer will not able to say in front of a developer. So the realtor role is quite important because they know what to say and what time, and at some point when they feel the transaction is at a junction where it could break or it could make, so they can get it more positive and convert it into a real transaction.
Nice. In today's world of being digital, online, everything being through the internet, the real estate consultant is still a very brick and mortar setup. Okay, so the deals are done, the business is done, the transactions are done through relationships. The question is, in today's internet world, what do you think are the threats a realtor faces, and how do you think the realtor can overcome those obstacles? Threats being faced by a realtor in the digital world, and the obstacles, the threats and obstacles being faced, and how one will overcome those obstacles.
So, hello. So in today's world, we know there are the portals like Housing, Magic Bricks, 99. So brokers are definitely putting in more money towards that to try and generate leads. But there are ways that brokers can leverage those platforms also. So I think everyone needs to re-educate, maybe hire someone to do their digital marketing. And we know a lot of brokers are doing that they have their own micro websites. They do their own special websites for the project and market it for the developer as well. So I think it's more about learning the new technologies and leveraging them rather than just saying that they're going to be an obstacle for my business.
I think in today's time, talent, technology and system process, this is the way whether it's a developer or a realtor is functioning. So a kind of a threat is also that today a good realtor, if he wants to scale up, he really needs to put in a significant capital cost into his organization, where today you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. They have to get good employees, get them motivated, get them driven, have them, the faith insisted that we are not fly-by-night operators, we're going to consistently do good business. So the motivational part has to happen amongst the employees. The fixed cost is high. Today a basic lifestyle for anyone in a city like Bombay is really scaled up. So that is another challenge and threat, where if the broker does not get consistent business, all these things look glamorous on a social media platform or technology. But when it comes to paying monthly bills, it becomes a challenge. So my opportunity to this threat is, the better part to it is, I think it's the focused approach. If a broker, whether it's he's alone or he's with syndicate partners or he collaborates with right-minded people, if they focus down on 3, 4, 5 developers, where they are comforted A in terms of timely brokerage, B in terms of delivery, we are in an era where nothing can be more binding than the delivery commitment that RERA offers now. So there's a confidence in the market. So I think the focused approach is the answer, where if they know, okay, at the end of the 30 days I have to have this business, otherwise I cannot run this organization or cannot run a platform. I think that is going to be very imperative going forward. More importantly, the new way of selling has changed. Now we all get into a fragment of, we do a faster launch, sell off 300-400 units, get into a consolidation phase, then again come up with another launch and sell another set of units. So with this moving time, the guys who are going to sustain, or rather I can say who are going to thrive, not just survive, are the guys who are going to meet these requirements that the developers and the clients have, where their availability, bandwidth, product knowledge, as well as their ability to understand the requirements of the developer and customer. I think that's going to really be something which is going to survive going forward.
Intelligent words from a well-established developer, Bombay. Would you like to say something, Jim?
If you ask me honestly, technology is not really a challenge. You know, all these guys are technology savvy. They use technology very well. They have, like you said, they have their own websites and they capture the data very well. But eventually, like I said again, it's a pure service business. These guys, the customers today are very smart. They'll come in, they'll check with you, they'll check with 5 other brokers you wouldn't know. And at the end of the day, where they see the broker, the realtor adding value to their home buying process, they're going to deal through you. So your business is a pure referral business. Every time you come work with me as a developer, you work with X as a buyer. We're only going to work again with you, you're going to work again with us if we're both happy with our experience. So the same with the home buyer, even more, because one home buyer is going to refer you to 10 other home buyers, and that's how you do your business. So ultimately focus on the service, technology. Times are going to change. Today it's all about technology. Earlier it was old age. Tomorrow it's going to be something else. The heart of the business is service. If you stick to that, I think you'll survive and you'll do well.
Well said. Do you feel technology is competition or complementary? Very simple question. Is technology competition to the individual broker, or is it complementary? Is it helping, or is it against? That's the question in today's world.
Personally, I feel that technology has helped the real estate agent to expand his market. So say previously, say a channel partner was restricted to say a lane in Borivali. With technology coming in, sitting in Borivali, he has the whole Bombay or the whole India to look forward to. So I personally feel technology has expanded the market for them.
Wise man once told me, there are two people who win the race, two entities who win the race. He said there are two entities who win the race. One is the horse and second is the jockey. So I always feel that technology is not competition for us, for the real estate broker. It is a boon, it is a tool, it's an instrument to be used in conjunction, in addition to what we already have in terms of real world relationships, and that should be used as leverage to grow further. So if you ask me personally, technology is complementary, it's enhancing us, it's benefiting us, and the outlook should not be that, oh, 99 acres is competing with me, I will be wiped out, or Magic Bricks or ABCD is competing with me. So we have to use everything in its good way and take the juice out of that and grow. That's the way we go forward. Do you feel, let me rephrase, what is the role, what is the future of an individual broker? A one-man army. Maybe he has one assistant who's on the computer and one boy to open the office, close the office and do inspections. That's the typical setup, I understand, of a small to medium real estate consultant. What do you feel is the future of such a setup?
See, I feel that every individual has a different working pattern style. And if a broker who has a limitation towards the work or towards the limitation to opening up his avenues, and if he restricts himself to just an office boy or a PA and a laptop and just a simple office, he would not grow to versus the other consultant who is doing business in different cities, different countries. Because nowadays you have been seeing that people sitting in Mumbai do lots of deals in Dubai, Hong Kong, London, everywhere. So if you want to grow yourself, you need to grow your vision, you need to grow your avenues, and you need to think something beyond. And if you want to restrict yourself to one particular area, then you want to be at that zone itself.
Sir, would you like to say something?
No, so actually, I mean, as an architect, of course, my perception is different, and I do not have a direct answer to your question. But I would just like to sort of connect all, what everyone said about technology and what Mr. Parkmeta rightly mentioned about adaptability and collaboration. As a young architect, as a young practicing architect, I certainly feel that within the separate fields of real estate and architecture, there needs to be a more meaningful relationship, like a more symbiotic relationship between all the project stakeholders. And the first step towards this is, for all architects to know that developers, are the hidden designers. And real estate agents, the brokers are hidden facilitators of the design. So, having said that, it is obligatory on developers' part to be creative. Because with every project he builds, he is making a statement of what he believes in. And for that, he needs to coax architects to think out of the box, to have them assume, greater project responsibilities to oversee the quality of design and, facilitate good architecture. Now, good architecture again is, I'm not trying to define good architecture because, I think architecture cannot be quantified because you can't say a building is 90% good architecture or 30% good architecture.
There are no benchmarks, it's a qualitative field,
Exactly.
it's creative.
Right, and it's an upshot of, political, cultural, social, environmental, aesthetics, functionality, and such other forces. But I think the broad point is to let architects have more freedom in so far as designing is concerned, because this good architecture can also be then used by the real estate agents, the brokers, as selling point. And good architecture will have multiple benefits for developers too. They can command a price premium on the project. And I'm sure architects can work out a way creatively to let the design cost be a little cheaper than the premium, so that the financial returns are even more, I believe. And so this can, yeah.
As you are in the profession of architecture, my question to you is, do you find your clients who are real estate developers telling you, let's talk to the realtor and get feedback. Let's talk to the realtor and show the plan, show the elevation, show the public areas, show the whole concept and get feedback and use them as a sounding board to understand whether we're doing the right thing, are we making a good project, will this be appreciated by the end customer? Do you feel that happens in a city like Bombay, in Mumbai?
I haven't encountered with any such incident. In fact, it's the other way around. So we, as architects, are asked to do a feasibility study. Now, feasibility does not just mean working out the plan for the developer, abiding by the rules. Feasibility also means understanding the typology of the site, the environment, the crowd that the site attracts, if it is viable to be a commercial unit or a residential unit, etc. So it is us who go to real estate brokers. I made a point before that there needs to be a more meaningful interaction between all the entities. Like, I don't know if maybe we work out some sort of a contract where all the project stakeholders sit on the table, discuss, and communicate and interact with each other. And I'm sure if that happens, then the project is going to be an amazingly, turned out project.
So, in your opinion, as of now, this practice does not prevail?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just a broken ended communication. So it's like one-to-one and then one-to-one. So, right.
So in my experience, it's a bit different. We always like, say I'm starting a project in Kandivali, I would love to have the realtor's feedback on that, because I may be selling one project with, say, 2 BHKs, 3 BHKs. They know the pulse of the market, they know what's actually happening, and it's better to get feedback and understand what the actual market is. Just to give a real life example, in my next Kandivali project, the feedback I've gotten is to build smaller units, because the overall ticket size is going too large for buyers to buy. So it's better to have that interaction with brokers as well, and for me as a developer to pass it to my architect and say, okay, this is what the market pulse is. Maybe the brokers might not be talking directly to the architects, but it is obviously channeled by the developer. So
You were saying something?
So earlier the scenario was that developer used to give a plan and realtor used to sell that plan or sell that apartment. Nowadays it's just gone opposite. I agree to Rohan what he said. Developer first call a group of realtors, ask them what is feasible in this market, what should we make, what should be the price range, what amenity should we give. In fact, it's gone more one step ahead. They directly tie-up or directly they have an interaction with their architect and a realtor, and developer say that you please guide my architect that this kind of plan will be suitable in this kind of area and location. So it will be easier for me to sell because ultimately who the realtor has to sell more than me. So this is change over.
Right. Jigar?
I agree with Rohan, I agree with Ashish, they're kind of absolutely correct. In fact, we had a small experience about a month back. Me and my father, we've been talking to a lot of people, a lot of realtors on a particular project of ours, and we must have met more than 100 guys. Okay? So we've been trying to kind of mold the product basis what will really work in that segment, in that location. And then we go back to the architect after a lot of to and fro, and then the architect was tired. He's like, oh my god, these guys are going to come back again, some more changes. So the first thing is like, bhaiya revision fee lagne wala hai. So uske liye to ready ho jao. But then at the end of it, he was just tired. So then he said, my father's name Shailesh Bhai. So he said, Shailesh Bhai, again, आपने ये कितना जन को मिलकर एक्सरसाइज किया? तो बोले बहुत लोगों को मिल लिया. बोलते अभी आप और इससे छोटा बनाएंगे ना तो पूरा मार्केट छोटा ही बना रहा है, फिर इतना छोटा इन्वेंट्री आ जाएगा कि भाई बाद में वो भी नहीं बिकेगा. So I mean to answer where you're coming from, you've not gone through the experience. Today architects have their opinion on the product very clearly because they're designing for say 100 guys like us. So realtors as well as architects, a mix of both, they're actually really able to guide a developer on the right product for the particular location that you want to develop in. So that's my take on it.
I wanted to share my opinion on the query of what is the future of an individual realtor. If you ask me, markets are tough, competition is high, challenges are greater. It's always going to be difficult for a single person to survive on his or her own. The future is change. The future is adaptation. We all understand that the future will be digital and online and all these websites and real estate portals, but the human touch and the human factor cannot be removed from the game. So there is a jockey and there is a horse. So the jockey is the realtor and the horse is the software or the online. You need both to survive in today's world. But I also feel that an individual realtor is going to find it very, very difficult to grow in his career or her career. What is the solution? In my opinion, unity. Unity comes with numbers, and there is always strength in numbers. So unity by virtue of groups, unity by virtue of consortiums, unity by virtue of being part of associations like the Area Group. That, in my opinion, is the way forward. For a single realtor, fighting the storm and the tsunami and all the challenges which are thrown upon the individual realtor is going to be very, very difficult, my opinion. Does anyone have a comment on that?
I think Avinash, what's happened is on a positive note, if we realize in hindsight, this is the best market to sell and collaborate. I'll tell you why. Confidence was there.
I like your word collaborate, that's what I meant.
Confidence was rare. You're getting house as low as 1%, 2% and 5% down payment. You don't need to worry about the recovery part, that's developer's problem. A broker is getting the assistance, like as an organization, we have a team of 45, 50 people in front ending. We have about 20 people in call center and CRM. We are giving solutions to each and every broker that your job is only to get the client, get him comforted, close. Khalas, over. After that, my team will take it up. Deal is done. Focus on new business. So the kind of infrastructure, machinery that is being made available as a podium or a canvas to the broker, I think is phenomenal. We've kind of come in a Dubai scenario where we are in a post-handover payment plan. Now this is an amazing...
They call it PHPP, post-handover.
Post-handover plan. So I mean, it's the best time to sell. Two, I look at it a very big niche and opportunity for driven or you can say focused realtors. But today every developer has a particular need. I may have permission, I don't have a contractor. One opportunity. You can find good people where you can match the column. Two, I may have constructed, but I don't have the last mile funding available. You can arrange it from your private investors or private people who've had faith in you over the last so many years, where you know the focus of the developer is to complete. There is no integrity issue. You can align that. I have an opportunity where we have the land, but we want a development management partner in terms of a developer. Now this is a play where even an individual broker can have a play. For example, I have a good relation with the developer. I have a good relation with the erstwhile developer or the landlord. You can make two people meet, focus on the transaction from 3 to 6 months and make a killing. As a retail flat or a leasing transaction, suppose you make 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh brokerage. In a land transaction from 1000 meter to 10,000 meter kind of a Bombay scenario, you're making brokerages upwards of few crores. I think it's still fantastic. 4, I see today's time where individually without, like, see, I'll tell you, a lot of people have tried to collaborate with a lot of brokers. But somewhere down the line, alignment of interest is not there. There are 3 guys who work very hard, और 3 जन, अरे हमको तो मिल ही जाएगा ना, हम खाली 2-4 विजिट कराते हैं. That's where the flaw is. Make focused, limited, and driven people's smaller groups. Because कद्दू कटेगा तो सब में बरोबर बटना चाहिए. That's all. So I think it's a great opportunity today that the brokers have in this market. It's the time to show faith to developers whom you guys have made money from. It's the time to give confidence to the buyers where things may get delayed 3, 6, 9 months. But everybody with integrity are here to stay and deliver. That's what.
But I agree with you on multiple points. Most of what you said. Today, people are more approachable because they have less work, they have more time. It's a good time to do networking. It's a good time to do fellowship. It's a good time to reach out to your entire database. We call it data mining. And you reach out to your past customers, your past developer clients, your relationships, and you know, it's a garden with flowers. We have to keep watering it, and you have to keep the garden alive. You have to give it sunlight, you have to give it manure, you have to give it water, you have to give it love, and that's how you get your garden and your greenery and your flowers. That is your database, that is your relationship, and that is how you can keep alive and flourishing. So, good time, you know, good time to reach out, good time to collaborate, good time to network, good time to connect, because people are free, especially in the urban financial capital of India, which is Mumbai. People are always busy and very pressed for time. This is the opportunity to reach out and scale up. What do you feel a developer, I would pose this to the multiple developer entities we have on our panel. What are the 5 basic things you would expect from a real estate consultant? Where you would say, if I get these 5, I will tick all the check boxes, and I'm happy that this guy is a good guy. What would be those 5 things? Just 5 bullet points or 5 qualities or 5 characteristics. We can start from you.
I personally feel that the real estate agent and the developer should work in collaboration. So when a real estate agent gets a client to you, a customer to you, both of you all in collaboration should convince the client. You know, most of the times what happens is that the real estate agent is working for the client. You know, he'll be like, come karo. That's not how deals happen. It has to be a win-win scenario for both. So the developer and the agent has to collaborate in order to process the deal.
Sir?
I would say follow-ups is really important. a lot of the times brokers just make the introduction, and yes, my team will definitely follow up, but I expect you to follow up as well. Certain times the case is that customer has gone through another broker and again come to my property. So I would say keep following up with your client and keep the relationship going, because that is your lead, your relationship, and we would love for you to see it through.
Great. Harsh,
As an architect, you mean?
as a player of the real estate industry,
No, I think the most important thing for me, and I think personally, I think would be the eagerness to adapt to technology, and I also think because if you were to see that there are some people in my own field who say that who still think, and I wouldn't want to tag them old school, but they still think things have to be done a certain way, and even if there are certain real estate consultants who come to me who sort of try to understand from me my design, they need to be aware of certain technical jargons too, like in so far as architecture is connected. Because I think if they know that, they will be able to edify the mass even better and make more profits.
they might start competing with you.
No, for that they'll have to go to an architecture school and do architecture for 5 years, which is a lengthy process. But I think that it needs to be, they need to know about the building in depth, to the best of their ability. Certain points about, for instance, a lot of times I have customers coming to me asking about green building. They often ask me, what is green building? What does green building do? Is green building only like planting trees inside or something of that sort? So there is a need to let people know what certain features of the building are, and that can work. We all can make forward strides once the real estate consultants are able to edify people, elucidate the people about certain concepts. That's what I think.
But we'll conclude with you. 5 bullet points which you would expect from a good gold class realtor.
Absolutely, bullet points. I think the number one thing is integrity and trust. Because if you see, erstwhile, a lot of developer were had legacy problems. They've gone on the word of a lot of realtors who said, "Sir, ये हो जाएगा, sir, वो हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा." End में कुछ नहीं होता है. So they've given grapevine or information which is may or may not backed with true content, because of which a developer puts his lifetime saving, he takes the risk, raises funds, and acquires an opportunity. So I think information truthness, whether it's selling a land or a flat. Number 2, I think, is accountability. Today, like I said, is realtors who just make 2 people meet. Now the whole way of working forward is accountability. You have to be end-to-end responsible for the transaction being made available. Third is scalability. Today, everyone likes to work with fewer people who are able to give more solutions. The bandwidth and focus of every individual is reduced to such a low level that he wants to work with few people, but wants that person to do multiple work. So growth also can be aligned to limited developers or to limited realtors, vice versa. 4th point, I feel, going forward, what you can expect is the whole ability to withstand differences and you may say difference of opinion or a diversified outset. Because what is happening when markets are going down, what is perceived and decided at the time of acquiring a deal, and when a deal is completed, a lot of things geographically change, logistically a lot of things change. That time, being adaptable to the ego mindset of 2 buyers and seller, that's a very important play, because that can again make or break a deal which can take you back again 2-3 months that you put in so much of effort. So today's time, how to bring both of them in a Samjhauta Express is a very, very important play that a realtor can play. And last point, I feel today's time, a broker is actually more than anything a one-point solution to the entire deal being transpired. If it's a buying of flat, a customer wants to give a token to registration, to everything, whether you get it done on your own with your team or use developers' infrastructure. A client wants to sleep easy. That's the way he's going to get more business. And for a land deal or a joint venture, if a broker whom you can have trust, he can take the lead and ensure right from closing commercials to getting documentations done from the lawyer and to ensure that the bank funding reaches to the seller, I think it's a 360-degree service that comes out.
Would anybody in the audience have any questions for the panelists? I'm sure I would be happy to answer. Okay, great. So, we conclude this panel discussion stating the follows. The realtor is a very important pivot in the entire process. The realtor is not going to be bypassed or overruled by the online technology which is attacking us today. The online technology, the digital era is not going to be competing but complementing the realtor, and the attitude of the realtor should be in a way that this is a horse and we are the jockey and we will ride this to the next paradigm. And you cannot do without the realtor. That is an understood fact. Thank you so much for your patience and thank you.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all our panelists and our moderator right here. I think a lot of knowledge sharing today. And we take this moment to present mementos to our moderator and all the panelists. So मैं invite on stage, मैं request कर रहा हूँ इसके immediately बाद थोड़ी देर में lucky draw भी होने वाला है. और उससे पहले मैं invite on stage Tiku Bhai and Mr. Hiren Shah to present a memento to our moderator, Avinash Plenary. Zoda Talia, everybody, a big cheer for our panelists and for our moderator. And also invite our President Tulsidar Sawanji and Mr. Jayesh Damania to present our memento to Mr. Parth Mehta. Also requesting Mr. Ajit Jadania and Rohit Vora to join us to present a memento to Mr. Harsh Gulani. That's right, Mr. Ajit Jadania and Rohit Vora presenting a memento to Mr. Harsh Gulani. And then this, Mr. Jaising Kabadia and Rohit Vora to present a memento to Mr. Jigar Vora. Also requesting Mr. Pranab Thakkar and Mr. Kiran Prajji to join us on stage and present a memento to Mr. Rohan Chheda. And then request Mr. Jaising Kabadia and Rohit Vora presenting a memento to Mr. Jigar Vora and Mr. Pranab Thakkar and Kiran Prajji presenting it to Mr. Rohan Chheda. And I also request Mr. Sunil Kalia and Mr. Raju Atreya to join us and present a memento to Mr. Keshav Modi. That's right, Mr. Sunil Kalia and Mr. Raju Atreya presenting a memento to Mr. Keshav Modi. And last but not the least, our conference chairman, Mr. Ram Prasad Bharji, joining in with Shailesh ji to present a memento to Mr. Ashish Mehta.
Hello, sir.
quick. Yes. With the brothers on stage. Just in case आपके पास कोई सवाल है, you can share them at conference@ariagroup.in and आपकी queries will be addressed. You know, अगर कोई भी सवाल